Welcome to Blake Street Banter, where one of us knows what the word banter means. The other one is just along for the ride. What up, Tyler?
What is up? I'm currently figuring out how to remove the chat from Zoom right now.
You clicked the box,
We're
dude.
off to a hot start over here.
Yeah, because I mean it's just us two. We're talking to each other. We don't need to do that. I am Aaron over here, and if you caught on, the intro is a Blake Street Banter session. We are talking all things Rockies today. No road to Blake Street. We might throw some minor league in because I mean we got the minor league expert of BSB with us, so let's throw
Ooh.
that in there. James is still on his sabbatical. He's trying to get his stuff together so he can join us next week, next time. But let's talk rocks. And this is going to be more of a therapy session for Tyler and I. So I just need you all to kind of lean back and just kind of soak it in. Maybe you disagree with us, maybe you agree with us, but just gripe with us, please. Because Rocky's Twitter has been fine, but it's the pundits, it's the national media, it's everybody else that is making Rocky's Twitter unbearable. And it's Tyler's like, yo, we need to record. I need to get this out. I'm like, brother, I got you. Let's do this. So our first gripe is Todd Helton. So there were some good things, there were some bad things, but Todd Helton is not in the Hall of Fame. He will be, blah, blah, blah. But there was so much discourse, and every single year is the same argument about the Hall of Fame voting is broken. You get to choose 10 players out of this, and all the writers. And I think one of my buddies said it best. There is nobody with a bigger ego that thinks they're more important than a baseball writer. And I think this covered that. So I'm going to let Tyler take the lead on this. I'll jump in with my 2 cents here and there. But I was pretty heated on Tuesday night. I expected it, but I was heated more about what I was reading. What about you, big dog?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of coined it. It was not that surprising, but we got a little teased. He did really well on the public ballots, but then, as expected, tanks on. I mean, everyone tanks on the private ballots. I think the private ballot people are too ashamed to put their ballots out there.
Yep.
More so, they just view it as like a confident. I don't really know, but they don't want their ballots out there because most of them probably vote for one guy max. And overall, the Hall of Fame process not great. You see too many ballots where someone that's from the New York market only votes for New York players, or a guy from the
Mm-hmm.
Houston market only votes for a Houston player, and it's like, yeah, I understand that because if you watch the game from that perspective, you're going to think that guy's a Hall of Famer. But I think if you have this ballot, you have to realize how much power and influence you have over the history book of baseball, that you need to take a back seat, be a little more
Yep.
objective about it. Like, yeah, it's your opinion, but you need to try and be honest with yourself instead of saying, I like that guy, remember him really well, Hall of Fame.
It's a lot of that. Everything you said, I echo. Uh, the one that got me, it was like the one of the last public votes, and this guy was on his high horse. And there was a few people in Rocky's Twitter that just went off at him, but he chose Gary Sheffield. Only Gary Sheffield out of all 30 people on that ballot. I think it's 30. He chose Gary Sheffield because of there's just something about the number 500 home runs, and that just speaks to me. I'm like, if
Yeah.
that's what we're breaking it down to, you need your vote taken away. You are worse than the blank ballots. Like, at least those guys have something to stand on. You just said 500 is the threshold. So, like, good luck, anybody else. Everybody, like, the Hall of Fame board just needs to take that vote away because he's only going to vote for 500 plus. So, like, thank you, Miguel Cabrera. Like, here we go. Adrian Beltre. I think he got 500. But, like, if
Did
that's
he?
the
I don't know.
rationale, like, get off your high horse. Like, you aren't that important. You could put in some work to go look at things. And I love that Scott Rowland got in. He deserved it.
Yeah.
Fantastic career. There's something about playing 17 years. Longevity is a big thing. And his glove, his bat, all that. Like, good for him. But Todd deserves it. And then the other thing, I mean, we could make a 30-minute pod on this whole thing. The other thing that gets me going is the steroids. I think I'm coming around people using steroids. I think I'm going to vote for A-Rod Manny. Like, yeah, let's put them in. But those same people are putting Todd Helton in. Like, what is it? Spilly? I sent you the tweet. Maybe Mike can get on it, because he didn't prepare for this part. But like, it was if you're going to vote for the steroid people, you can't hold Coors against Todd, especially when Todd is doing what he did on the road, what he did longevity, what he did with the glove. Like, that's weak with me. And then fucking John Heyman, this guy, man,
Yeah.
his whole article about Carlos Beltran deserves second shot. Don't hold the cheating scandal against him, brother. You're gatekeeping for Beltran, but you can't get around the idea that Coors didn't actually help Helton all that much. Like Helton has proven in all the stats, new age, old age, this age, Helton beats out any of this other stuff. He doesn't have the Coors effects as other players do. And yet here you are gatekeeping for Beltran, but not looking more into the Coors effect. And like John Heyman, like this last year about me regarding John Heyman is just like all respect is just going down. Hate that
Yeah.
guy.
I think overall, and this is like a slightly unrelated thing. This year it became really obvious that he has certain interests that are
Yep.
in Major League Baseball. You think of Scott Boras. He tells John Heyman what he wants reported, and John Heyman does it.
I got
And
you.
if that tells you anything about his integrity and his just the amount of original thoughts he's contributing there. I mean, he's a journalist. He shouldn't be creating original thoughts, and that's kind of almost the flawed process of the ballot. Is like these are journalists. They're not supposed to. If we're counting on them to evaluate baseball players, I don't know. John Heyman really questions that.
Yes, he does. I don't know if we can take
I don't want
anything
to
he says
hold that
serious.
against there's some guy. I don't want to take Patrick Saunders and drag him through the mud, but John Heyman makes everybody look a little suspect.
Yes, he does. And yeah, that's a nice leadway. Patrick Saunders tweeted out that the Rockies front office says they're done. And the national pundits, I know we wanted to put this at the end, but the segue was there, Tyler. I'm sorry,
It
brother.
was. It
So
was.
we are starting spicy and we'll try to calm down at the end and maybe bring it back up before we go live on the Twitter space in a little bit. So Patrick Saunders decided, like, yeah, I talked to the front office and we're going to put this out there. Rockies are pretty much done. And then Ben Verlander, who, on my own personal opinion, I don't think he's good at what he does. I think he's very vanilla. He just has a platform. He happens to be JV's brother, blah, blah, blah. I don't like what he does. And so I'm a little biased when he does this, but what did he tweet? I got it here. I got Mike on this one. The Rockies GM said they are done putting the team together this offseason. This offseason, they have signed Jose Arena, Pierce Johnson. That is the extent of their offseason. Unacceptable. How can you tell me that you don't watch the Rockies, follow the Rockies with more of a tweet?
Yeah.
Like, explain that
Exactly.
to me. And I think that was my biggest thing with him. Just you didn't look into this at all. And I get it. Rockies haven't signed anybody. They signed 2 MLB players. We signed Chris Bryant for 18 years last year. Not 18 years, get off it, Penguin. But like everybody was mad about the KB signing last year. All right, we went out, we spent money. And the Rockies have spent money. Charlie Blackmon, Nolan Arenado. We didn't spend money on Trevor Story, and everybody was mad about that. But like, how did that play out? Like, that's looking pretty good right now. No offense to Trevor, love that dude, but like,
Yeah.
obviously saw something. They saw something that people weren't, but everybody was mad at them. So it's like, do this, be mad. Do that, be mad. It's like the whole Coors effect BS, and like, it's stupid. I don't know what else to say. I'm fed up with people like Ben.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to be a national pundit, but I think that given that it's hard, that means there's a lot more effort that needs to be put into it, and that's why I respect people that you occasionally see those that they don't really have bad takes. They might not have a great take on everything, but they don't have bad takes. And like Ben Verlander's tweet, like you said, tell me you don't follow the Rockies without telling me you don't follow the Rockies. And it's crazy that that's the reason that there's so many bad takes, so much bad analysis about the Rockies because nobody pays attention to them. But if you're not paying attention to them, why are you making passionate opinions about them? And Ben Verlander's tweet, the culmination of this is saying that he's that Dick Monfort's the opposite of Steve Cohen. And I don't want to defend Dick Monfort that much, but let's be real here. The Rockies, I had to reply to Ben Verlander. The Rockies payroll is going to be over 150 million this year. That's going to be average or better
Right.
in the league, and it's going to be a franchise record. So if you're going to come at the Rockies, which do it, please do it. Come at the Rockies. Like I don't mind them getting criticized in the national spotlight,
Right.
but make it accurate. Like if Dick Monfort read this tweet, he would laugh. He would laugh. He's not reading tweets, but if he was, he would laugh at this one.
And I think that's it. Like, look into it. Look at the history of the Rockies. They spend money. They have spent money. Just do it. And I tweeted from the BSB account. Also, let me know if you can find a free agent starting pitcher who wants to pitch at altitude. Like, nobody wants to come here anyway. There's no way the Rockies pay the same amount for JV as the Mets do, and JV comes here. There's no way the Rockies pay an extra $5 million per year for JV to go to the Rockies, and JV shows up. Like, that doesn't happen. There's no way.
Yeah.
And like, since somebody else responded, like, yeah, if you're a good pitcher, you can pitch at altitude. I looked up Clayton Kershaw stats at Coors, right? Hall of Fame, no doubt. Blah blah blah. I think I have it here. It was.
I mean, it's like a 5 ERA roughly.
4.82 ERA, 1.334 WHIP, and that's against the Rockies offense. So keep that in mind. Whoever,
yeah,
like, if you're gonna go at the Rockies, go at them all the way, saying they don't have a good offense, and here they are. Kershaw is good at Coors, better than Freeland is better at Coors than Kershaw is. Like, the Rockies have figured out what works for pitching. Like, they have. Whether we like it or not, they might have broken Herman last year. However, they have figured out what works. And like, again, do your research, know what you're talking about before you come at it. Like, I don't know. That got me fired up. Let's just Rockies deserve criticism. I'm not trying to be as big of a homer as it is, but like, what do you want the Rockies to do this year? Tell me.
I know, and we have to endure through all the kind of stuff. We follow this team like a lot, and there's so many things that cause us to face palm and all that. But so do these tweets. When you follow this stuff and you experience just like some annoyance, some frustration, whatever, with the way the team's working, and then somebody just misconstrues all that. It's like someone takes your hand, someone puts their hand on your hand and face palms. You're not doing it yourself. Someone's doing it for you. That's what it feels like. And that's silly. I'm all, again, yeah, we're all for the criticism. We're all for the hate. I don't like the word hate, but I mean, yeah, people hate on the Rockies, go for it.
Right.
It's just uncalled for. And here's my take on it all. I think this is the best Rockies offseason I've seen.
Right.
I don't really know when. And it sounds funny because they didn't, they signed Pierce Johnson and Jose Urania, but like, they didn't do anything bad. They didn't do anything that could possibly in any way blow up in their face. I mean, maybe Chad Smith or Juan Brito, who they traded away, maybe those guys are really good next year. But like, maybe. And you weren't going to get that from those guys this year. Maybe Chad Smith could have been a contributor, but they brought in a lot of guys who could be impact players. They finally kind of corked up the bottom of their roster. They've always had a leaky floor at the bottom of their roster.
Yep.
24, 25, 26 guy on the roster. They're never MLB level. And this year that's going to change. At least on the pitching side. The offense, I mean, there's guys on offense, but they didn't add quite as many on that side. But pitching is finally like, they did something different on the pitching side, and they deserve credit for it. It's kind of satisfying to see a bunch of new guys with promise brought in, not a bunch of guys like, Chad Qualls and Jason Mott or Jake McGee and Brian Shaw and, Greg Holland and Wade Davis, these kind of trending down veterans. We brought in a bunch of guys who are, for the most part, under 30. And one guy who's over 30 has never thrown hard. So his stuff isn't going away.
Yep.
And, we'll get into those guys in a bit.
And I think, just to expand on what you just said, it finally feels like the Rockies actually have a plan. It didn't feel like that last year. They signed KB, they brought in Chad Kuhl to they patched some things in, and they made the KB signing. You can talk about that however you want, but it feels like they actually have a plan. All right, we're going to bolster that bottom, that floor. We're going to fill up these minors because in 2 or 3 years, they're going to be ready to contribute. Again, I love the Nolan Jones signing, the Jeff Criswell. Dude's going to be a number 4, number 5 starter here soon. They're going to be fighting with Noah, Wallison, Lambert. Like, there was moves that were made that set up for the future, and they actually had a plan. But don't tell Ben Verlander that. He won't look into it.
No.
He just
I
has
mean,
a
nor John Heyman. Don't say that to Heyman.
John Heyman. It's just
And
yeah. Go ahead.
let's get into the next pundit thing, which I don't know if I want to do this page the justice of calling him a
Right.
pundit. The Game Day MLB, they've got 10,000 followers. So I guess who are we to make fun of them? They got 10,000 followers on Twitter. They released an MLB tiers graphic. You got 5 teams in the true contenders area. You've got on the other side, you got 4 teams in the horrific category. You got the Reds, the Tigers, the Pirates, and the Nationals in the horrific category. And the Rockies are below all those teams in the A's category with the Oakland Athletics. I mean, I think there's a degree of humor here, and it's
Right.
sort of funny, but it's also like I think they're serious at the same time. I think this is again building off of what Ben Verlander's tweeting, that people really think the Rockies are that big of a joke. And yes, they are a joke. They've done a lot of really stupid things. They've done so much to criticize over the last few years. But are we really putting them below the A's, the Reds, the Pirates? Like I would say the Royals, but the Royals won a World Series like 7 years ago. But we're putting them below like the Reds, and the Pirates. You could even throw the Marlins in there. Like the Marlins have never been good ever in the history of their franchise, and they're in the good but could be awful category, which is 3 categories above the Rockies. Like we're having too much fun hating on the Rockies for the sake of clicks. It's all for clicks,
and it's definitely for clicks. So you said 10,000 followers just to put it in perspective. This tweet got 8,000 liked, 1.6 million views. They have another one that was posted 12 hours ago. 1,000 views, 14 likes. Just like a thing. Just a tweet. Again, 9,000 followers. They have 11 likes on this one. So how can I get some clickbait out there? You won't see us doing that. Mainly because we don't have the time for it. But we
have shame. We have dignity.
Right. Like this is ridiculous. The thing that got me, and I say this as a math mind, the tier list. So they had bad, comma, but frisky, but they forgot the comma and could be good, could be awful. Like if you're gonna put a comma anywhere, make sure it's consistent all the way through.
Yeah, exactly.
Like so, I automatically don't take anything that this group says serious. This is dumb. I don't. Yeah, this is not.
At the end of the day, I respect them more than Ben Verlander and John Heyman. I hope that they, hope they have a good 2023 year. I hope their page continues to grow. But that was horrible, and I hope that they don't make more tier lists like that.
Please don't. And I will say this: I've never listened to Verlander's podcast. That's a personal reason. So if anybody is out there that is a avid Ben Verlander podcast listener, please let me know what he says about the Colorado Rockies. And if I need to bite my words and backtrack, I will be more than happy to. If he has shown any inkling that he has actually followed and researched anything that the Colorado Rockies have done instead of just put himself out there for JV and Shohei Ohtani, please let me know, because that's all I see that guy do. I don't know what he does. He's very vanilla on whatever he does. I'm not getting into that, Tyler. We're not doing that right now. No. But there was another segue you just did for me. You had another segue about the floor. The stupid tier list is terrible. So I'm getting off track again. It's just too much fun to stay on track, to get off. But the ZiPS. Let's get into ZiPS. So probably about a month ago, December 22nd, I think they put it out like right before we recorded Christmas break. The ZiPS reports came out for the Rockies. They always like to put them first because they are terrible. But in this, Zibikowski, Zimborski, Dan. Sorry, man. I actually respect this guy. This guy's good.
He's a Rockies hater, but it's always based. It is always based.
It has something there.
Always.
Yes. So I'm sorry, Dan. I do appreciate you. I do respect you. Zimborski, I think is how I'm gonna say it. But he says something about the floor. That was my lead in here. Their floor of the Rockies is much higher than other teams like the Reds, the Nationals, and the Pirates. It's not enough for like an 85 win team. You can't quite see them getting to that 85 threshold. However, you can see their floor not being as bad. Red Pirates or Nationals. We probably throw in the Marlins, the Royals into this category, the A's into this category now. Like again, this was a month ago. So there's where that transition came from. He has some good points. I just let's do over under. I remember doing this last year with James, and then we'll pick our sleepers. Like who did he kind of discount? We're gonna start at the one position. Let's go with the starters, and then we'll end with the relievers as we go around the diamond here. So the starters, you got Marquez at 3.1, Freeland 1.9, Cincy at 1.7, and Feltner at a 1.0. There's a Urena, Gomber, and Lambert. Overall, yes, no, over under. What do you think?
I mean, this is the one that I think is pretty spot on. I'm gonna take the over because last year was kind of a bad year for the rotation. There just was nobody who pitched well from start to finish. I think you're gonna have some guys really, piggyback on each other and have, maybe Marquez and Freeland combined for like 6 wins, which isn't a lot more. They're, right here they're projected for 5.
Right.
I'm gonna go slightly over, although they're projecting Senzatella for 1.7, which he tore his ACL towards the end of last season. I don't know when he's gonna be back on a mound and 100%.
Right.
Urania 0.6. I think that's in the ballpark. Feltner at 1 is that's a little optimistic even. Like that's expecting him to do well. So I'm gonna take the over just because I think maybe someone has a really good year.
Yeah.
And this is not accounting for that, but the starters, I think that is on the money.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm going push on this too. And we'll also see what like Noah Davis, Carlo Kaufman, Rollinson's not on
those
this
guys
list.
aren't included.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see them make a few starts there. All right, number 2 spot, the catcher position. Diaz plus Servin as a 0.3. that stings.
It's I mean, I want to say over because the Rockies signed Gary Sanchez, but I don't think it's gonna happen. So I'm gonna go over though also because Elias Diaz has to look in the mirror and realize what he was doing last year was terrible. I also don't think the Rockies are gonna give him a long enough leash to put up like -1. He was like -1 last year.
It was gross. Yeah, go back to 2021 and figure what you did, Diaz.
Yeah,
I'm hoping for a nice, just enough turnaround there. Servin's serviceable.
he's okay.
Yeah. So
he'll put up like point two as a backup. Like he'll be below average offensively, but he'll play good enough defense. So he'll be average by WAR.
Yep. This one I'm going over. This is wrong. Crone / Tolia at 0.7 at the first base spot. I thought this was so low.
I mean, it's kind of nuts that Crone, I think, was at 1.6 last year, and Toglia just looked lost, in a cup of coffee, which is not crazy. I mean, how many guys come up to the big leagues when they've played most of the year in AA and like don't do well? I mean, most guys that come from AA do that. So I think they're probably going to be in the 1.5 to 2 range in the end. So this isn't a spot they could pick up like a whole win based on these projections.
I think so too. Rogers 1.8. I think it's about right. I'm going to go over because I'm a Rogers truther. But 1.8 for Rogers.
I mean, I just think it's nuts because he was, I think, 1.7 last year. And the first month of the season, he literally was like 3 for 50.
It was terrible.
For an entire month. It's not even a joke. Like we all watched it, and he still put up 1.7. The second half of the year looked really good. Like he looked like a 3-win player in the second half. So I'm expecting like 2.3 to 2.5 from him. Yeah. So I'll take the over on that.
Tovar Trejo 2.2. I think he loves Tovar. Like this is a very high WAR for a rookie shortstop and I guess rookie utility man in Trejo. 2.2. I actually think that's too high. I'm gonna go overall under. Just it's a rookie season. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone, I know the Tovar hype and love. I'm not saying it's overblown. I think people are getting a little ahead of themselves and expecting stuff now from Tovar. The kid is 21. Is he even 21? I'm not sure. I think he's 21.
He turned 21 this offseason.
Okay. He's 21 years old. He had never really looked like a plus hitter in the minors until last season. And then when he got to the big leagues, You saw some of his weaknesses kind of on display. So I think you're going to see a below average offensive season. Defensively, he'll be good, but I mean, the defensive metrics did not love him. I think that's mostly small sample last year, but I'm thinking Tovar probably is going to be about 2, maybe a little lower, and then Trejo's a coin flip. He could be like a 0.5 guy, or he could be like a minus 0.5 guy. So I just don't think they'll get over 2 combined, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, agreed. It's gonna be tough. And he kind of likes McMahon, Ryan McMahon, the third baseman. There's no Montero here, 2.3. I just think that's high. His defense helps him a ton, I think. I don't know, his offense, it just has not made me like super excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was. Let me pull up their last season just so I'm not spewing randomness. I think last season he was at a 3-1. So
Oh,
yeah,
really?
he was 3-1 Fangraphs WAR. So I
Wow.
think 2-3 is pretty easy for him. You know, that does require him to continue to perform offensively like he has, which you're not impressed by his offense. I think that's a testament to the fact that he could have a bomb of a year. He could have a year where he just doesn't see the ball well. And I don't think any of us would be surprised. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over. I think I don't know if he meets what he did last year though.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yeah. Yeah, he hit what?
Three wins is pretty impressive for any player.
Yeah, he had a 750 OPS. Maybe just too streaky. I don't know.
Definitely too streaky.
I think that
That
might be
is,
it.
I think, the strongest statement you can make.
Head out to the left field, the Bryant Bouchard combo of 1.9. I think this is low. I think Sean Bouchard is way underrated by everybody. Dude, man, held his own last year. He's a gamer. He hits. That's all he's done is hit. And Bryant, healthy, fasciitis is hard to come back from and just kind of deal with constantly, but he's still a professional hitter. I think this is too low.
Yeah, I think it's way too low. Like Chris Bryant, kind of on the same train as Brendan Rodgers. He looked horrible at the beginning of the season. I think he was adjusting to hitting at altitude, maybe dealing with some of the back issues early on. So he had a horrible start, still finished with a 0.6 F WAR. That was in 40 something games. Like we're looking at a quarter of a season. He was 0.6. I mean, with a bad start to the year, he's still on a 2.4 win pace.
Right.
And I think it's worth noting he's also listed in the DH category. So
Yes.
I'm guessing let's see, where do they project him with WAR? I mean, they're throwing him a 1.7. I think he's easily going to hit 3. Like it'd be crazy to me if he doesn't hit 3. The only way that would happen is if he plays less than 100 games again, which like, are we really going to count on a guy? He has this injury prone label. I think he's had 2 years, including 2020, excluding last year, but 2 years coming into last year where he was actually injured. Like this guy is not necessarily injury prone. Is he Iron Man? No, but this is not a guy who just has always been injured. And I thought that label was just thrown around real undeservingly last season.
Yeah. 150, 155, 151, 102, 147, 144. Like, and then COVID 34.
That's basically, yeah. I mean,
You're stoked about
one
that.
unhealthy season. Like COVID was just weird for everybody. Everybody got injured during COVID. So
yeah, I think
like
this
he's
is low.
basically he had one injured year coming into last season.
Yeah.
So
It's terrible.
Just let him cook.
Middle center field, Daza and Grichuk, 1.1. I think this is about right. Daza is fine. He would be a fantastic number 2. Grichuk, we saw Grichuk. I'm not too keen on him. I think this is about right. I'm going to say push or under.
It's tough.
Yeah, it doesn't get me excited.
Like I think Grichuk, I'm a little hopeful that he had last year as a test for himself, and now he knows. I think Rockies players as a whole are starting to catch on to the fact that Coors Field is going to shoot your ground ball. I mean, if they hadn't caught on to it like last year, like it has to have been a thing. Guys know you hit a lot more ground balls at Coors Field, and that killed Randall Grichuk's season. Like his ground ball percentage increased 10%. that's just going to tank anyone's season. So if he can kind of turn that around a little, I could see him putting up like a 1.5 win season.
Yeah,
So
that'd be nice.
I'm gonna take the slide over because I think Grichuk at least hits one win above replacement this year.
Okay.
That's a lot compared to last season, but I do think there's gonna be some offensive turnaround. And then Daza's the safest positive war player there is. Like he's gonna go
Yeah.
out there, he's gonna get you 0.5. Maybe he's gonna get you like a full win above replacement. But I think
So
they'll go over 1-1.
banking on the Gritchick turnaround. Hopefully it's good enough by July 31st so we can get rid of him. Not get rid of him, trade him for some assets for following years.
For number one prospect in baseball.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be fantastic, right? Yeah. Gritchick, Blackman, Jones out in right field, 0.3. This one made me cringe. I just think I don't know. I believe in Nolan. Blackman is Blackman. Like he's not gonna be a negative war. He still played pretty good in right field
Yeah.
last year. Like he's so not sure where this is coming from. 0.3, I think, is way too low. I am going over on this one too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little insulting to have Blackman as a negative guy. Like to have
Right?
him, at like a full win above replacement. Maybe that's bold, but I would think you put him on the flip side of this, like 0.5. Like he's still gonna hit a little bit. And then Nolan Jones, I think he's pretty safe in terms of bringing defense to the table. Like, is he gonna hit for sure? Like, who knows? But he's a good defender in right field with a cannon of an arm that's gonna get him a lot of value. And then you get some of that Grichuk runoff in right field. Like I don't think Grichuk's gonna play a ton of center field anyway. So I
Right.
think a lot of his value is gonna come in right field. And that position should at least be one win above replacement.
I think I'm overestimating Chuck because according to the Fangraphs war, last year he had a 0.1, 2021 he had a 0.4, 2020 it was a 0.4.
I think the big
They
thing
do
with
not like his
Blackman though
defense.
is the shift ban. I would have to dig into the numbers on it, but I think he's one of the guys who gets affected by the shift the most because he hits a ton of balls really hard pull side. And I
Yeah.
think we can all kind of attest to him being really, really good like 2014 to 2019. And that was before the shift really took prominence. And so he was getting a lot of those hard hit singles through the right side. And then all of a sudden he's like Cody Bellinger and you can't get those. Except Charlie Blackmon was still a pretty good hitter last season. He
Yeah.
wasn't great, but
I
what
think
what are we looking at for him?
there is a
A
lot of weight on the
90
defensive part.
WRC plus?
There is a lot of weight on the defense part. Because he pretty much had better offensive numbers than Ryan McMahon. But
Yeah.
Ryan McMahon was a 3.1 war and Charlie Blackman's at a 0.1. So the
I mean, I
defense
don't think he's going to play in the outfield that much this year. They've
right.
got
DHM
they've got a lot of quality outfielders now, and Blackman should be DHing most of the time he's playing.
Yep. Agreed. If he wants to, if he can allow that. And then the DH spot, combo of Blackman, Crone, and Bryant at 0.7. I just think there's too much potential there to be good. I'm not sure what they think about Crone, but like 0.7 offensively, just offense, like Blackman should create that on his own. So I'm taking the over on that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we'll give our biggest. Actually, we got one more position group, but
Yep.
unless you have a guy from the reliever group, I'm going to drop my big sleeper right now is Chris Bryant. I
Yeah.
think I kind of gave my reasoning that I think he's going to be healthy this year. The guy looked like an all-star when he was healthy in the second half. I think he's posting a 3-1 season on his own, which in that DH spot I think he'll DH a fair amount too, just to keep him fresh. And I think that DH spot is going to get some good production this year. Him, Crone, and when Blackman is in the lineup, I think there's going to be a little more protection on these guys too.
Yep.
Last year there were a few holes in the lineup that could let you pitch around guys more. And then again, the shift is going to help out someone like Charlie Blackman immensely.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So you sleepers, Chris Bryant, relievers are at 2.8. I think that's about spot on. I love the arm barn, so
Yeah.
I'm going higher. I think my sleeper is he doesn't love Bouchard. I think Bouchard is gonna be kind of that left field combo. Maybe we just go with that. Like you're going all in on Brian. I think I'm going all in on Bouchard. Bouchard, again, like I
He's
said
a
earlier,
dude.
he can hit. He can do what he needs to. He plays average, if not a little bit better, average left field. he held his own. He knows what it is. He has a full season under his belt. Like I think he's down for the get down when he comes out there, because whatever they think he's going to be, like, I think it's going to be higher.
They're tossing him at a 0.9, which honestly, I'll say that's like pretty respectful of
so they're
Bouchard.
putting Brian
I
at
mean,
1. Yeah.
They think that Bouchard will be like a
Okay,
pretty
that's fair.
good player.
So I'm pushing all in then. That's
and
fair.
yeah, you're thinking he's a 2-win guy, which, you know, when he did play last year, like he was a why am I on the wrong? He was a 0.8 win player last year in 97 plate appearances. So he could easily go over that, but you know, maybe last year guys just didn't know how to pitch to him yet, and we'll see. But I think it's a fair pick. You had him as your sleeper last year for the minor leagues, at least.
That's right. So, you heard it here first last year. You're welcome, people.
Twice in a row. We could see that happening.
Yeah. All right. So that's the ZiPS. It's fun. Again, I respect this guy. It does good work.
Dan is a good
fun.
Dude.
Again, maybe we're being homers. Maybe we need to be more like Ben. I don't know.
But I mean, I don't know if we said it. I think ZiPS is really good at giving and taking. Like in some areas, it's going to be too low, and in some, it's going to be too high. I think we are being slightly homerish. We're projecting some guys, everyone to be better, most people to be better at least. In reality, it's going to be close to 50-50, half or better, half or worse. Very few guys are going to actually hit their projection on the nose. So, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I think Dan probably has a good read on this. And it's not necessarily Dan, it's Dan's computer has a good read on this.
Right. I should go back in and find time to see how James and I did last year and see if we were right. Maybe get Mike on that. All right. So we said we were going to go live on Twitter Space at 9:30. It is 9:26. There are a few other things that we wanted to talk about. So maybe we just push that over to the Twitter Space and then release that. Hopefully, if I do it right, we release that as a pod next week. So split it up. Our rundown turns into 2. See how it goes. Trying something different. And if it fails, that's fine, because it's just our mom's listening. So,
but I do hope, you guys, if you're watching this, I hope you tune into the Twitter Space, because we have some juicy content that we did not touch on in this pod. So
right, we're gonna touch a little bit on the national pundits, but then BSB prospects preview. I don't know. We'll see. So with that, let's end it here. Move on to the Twitter Space. See how this goes. And go Rocks! Woo! Thank you for watching and listening. Please check out our link tree for more content.